It's terrible. It's disgusting. We trusted him for 2 years.
A former patient of one of the doctors arrested in connection with actor Matthew Perry's death comes forward. Tonight, she shares her experience under his care. Good evening. Welcome to West Coast Wrap. I'm Amber Lee. Fallout continues today after the arrest of 5 people in connection with Matthew Perry's death. We begin tonight's coverage of the investigation with Fox 11's Matthew Seedorf. He found one of the arrested doctor's former patients, and he spoke to a healthcare attorney about what to expect next in this case.
We're outside this urgent care in Calabasas where one of the doctors in the Matthew Perry case had been working. It's been very quiet here today, but one patient tells us she's shocked. An urgent care center in Calabasas now closed. We'll be back Monday for a weight loss program only. The office's Dr. Salvador Plasencia, one of 5 people arrested Thursday, charged in the death of Matthew Perry. What was he like as a doctor?
Well, he was kind, but unprofessional. We didn't fill out forms.
This woman says she's one of Dr. Plasencia's patients and saw him just last week.
He seemed tired and not as friendly when I saw him other places.
Think about this.
I'm shocked. It's terrible. It's disgusting. We trusted him for 2 years.
Exclusive Fox 11 video shows Dr. Plasencia pacing as investigators raided his Santa Monica home in January. Federal prosecutors now naming him and Jasveen Sanya, the so-called ketamine queen, the 2 lead defendants in this case.
I wish this was shocking, but unfortunately it's a repeat of what we saw with opioids.
Harry Nelson, a healthcare attorney, has represented several physicians who have celebrity clients with drug addictions.
The defense is going to argue that presumably that they were informed by Matthew Perry or by his manager or other people around him that there were people in place to make sure that things were done safely. The challenge with those arguments is going to be that doctors have fundamental responsibilities that they can't delegate to managers.
Authorities claim Dr. Plasencia and the so-called ketamine queen worked together, and through Perry's own personal assistant, Kenneth Iwamasa, who wasn't a medical professional, gave the actor large amounts of ketamine.
We wanted to discover the source of supply for the ketamine, but we also did it because we wanted to see how extensive this was and the danger to the community in general.
When you found out, what'd you think?
Lock him up.
Or just a little bit over.
I think lock him up.
Fox News just got this statement from Matthew Perry's family saying, "We were and still are heartbroken by Matthew's death, but it has helped to know law enforcement has taken his case very seriously. We look forward to justice taking its course." Reporting in Calabasas, Matthew Seedorf, Fox 11 News.
More about the woman who allegedly provided the deadly dose that killed Perry. Prosecutors described Jasveen Sanya as a drug dealer who was known to her customers as the ketamine queen. TMZ tells us she was charged in a separate ketamine case in April prior to Perry's death, and police obtained a search warrant for her North Hollywood home.
Found a ton of drug paraphernalia, which included meth, MDMA, mushrooms, and ketamine. And she even had a journal at the time where she wrote down a bunch of transactions that she made related to drugs.
Sanya has pleaded not guilty in both cases. Her attorney declined comment outside court. She's being held without bail, and she could face life in prison if convicted in the Perry case. A challenging wildfire has forced the closure of recreation sites in Washington's Olympic National Forest. Rugged terrain is making it difficult for firefighters to attack these flames west of Seattle. Fox 13's Lauren Donovan rode along with Brennan's fire chief to see what they're facing.
We're at the command post here up Duckabush Road, and you can see the fire is still burning over my shoulder. Compared to when we were up here yesterday, it's a lot hazier. There's a lot more smoke. And as mentioned, this fire is growing at a rapid rate. As you said, it has tripled in size within just 12 hours. And we've learned what's really fueling this fire.
Yep, it's gotten a lot bigger. We're up to about 445 acres.
Fire Chief Tim Manley says it's gotten so bad on the peninsula. Teams are getting pulled away from the Pioneer Fire Response at Lake Chelan to come help out.
175 firefighters with additional crews on their way from Oregon as we speak.
And more resources, that's a big deal for small town Brennan. They've only got 2 career firefighters working per shift. And if you live here in town, odds are you can spot it from your front yard. Just look at the wall of smoke rising from this ridgeline. it's roaring across Mount Jupiter.
We could clearly see that it had crested and is now on the other side.
The chief took us up Duckabush Road to get a better look at it.
201 from duty.
When we drove up this same way Thursday, the fire was within a couple hundred yards of us. Ash was falling. You could even hear it crackle. 24 hours later, at that same vantage point, you can see just how destructive it truly is. Crews bulldozed a containment line beneath it to prevent the blaze from reaching nearby homes.
We expect it to be down here probably in the next 72 to 96 hours.
This is all happening in Olympic National Forest, where access is limited.
Where the fire was, it was in that spot where it was just inaccessible. So the only way to get in there was by helicopter.
Steep and rocky terrain presents challenges for crews. They're also navigating some of the lushest, densest woods in the world.
Pretty rapid growth, and it was in an area that was being logged and logging slashed, so it had a lot of fuel.
Let's walk you through a timeline to provide some perspective. Here's what it looked like Wednesday night around dinner time. Only 4 acres were ablaze. By Thursday afternoon, flames had consumed a staggering 150 acres. Thursday night, the number had jumped to 350. As of this morning, 445. 0% containment, cause unknown.
The large complexity of it, the large size of it, and then we've had the weather that stayed in a lot longer.
The chief says the marine layer off Hood Canal complicated things Friday morning. Choppers can't fly through such low visibility, and they need these helicopters to pull water from nearby Lake Cushman and drop it on the burn. Rain in the forecast is giving these crews some hope, but there is also wind coming along with it. So will the rain be enough to help these firefighters out some, give them a bit of a break, or will the wind really keep this fire spreading deeper into the heart of Olympic National Forest? Reporting here in Brennan, Lauren Donovan, Fox 13 News.
A Utah woman is accused of kidnapping her toddler and hiding the young girl in a religious cult. Authorities say when Kimberly Dell Davidson Drawlett allegedly kidnapped her then 4-year-old daughter last year, she and her husband were in the process of getting a divorce. Authorities say the woman packed her belongings and left for Missouri with her child without telling her husband. More than a year later, authorities discovered the child at a compound run by a religious cult leader. The woman has been charged with kidnapping and conspiracy to commit kidnapping. Court resumed today for the murder trial of former Las Vegas politician Robert Tellis. Tellis, a former Clark County public administrator, is accused of killing investigative journalist Jeff German in 2022. Today, the state brought in more witnesses to testify, including a Metro forensic scientist and a county employee who testified that Tellis had said he hated German. Investigators say his reporting about Tellis and turmoil at City Hall was the motivation for the killing. California Governor Gavin Newsom signed new state laws to crack down on retail theft today. The bipartisan package of 10 bills aims to crack down on smash and grab robberies and property crimes. The bills also make it easier to go after repeat shoplifters and auto thieves, as well as increase penalties for those running professional reselling schemes. The governor calls the bills the most significant legislation to address property crime in modern California history.
These bills will strengthen existing laws, they'll enhance other laws, and they will address the challenges that are well outside the purview of previous initiatives and laws like Prop 47, and that's the issue of organized retail theft, the issue of serial theft, the issue that is front and center in the consciousness of so many Californians.
The bills received bipartisan support, though some progressive Democrats did not vote for it, citing concerns that some of the measures are too punitive.
Got a good price on it, actually, for booking a few days ago.
I think we got round trip for a price point that felt like it fit in our budget.
Surprise travel deals from flights to road trips. We're breaking down how people on tight budgets are making getaways happen. And car lovers are flocking to California's coast this weekend. Rides worth millions on display. We'll show you around one collection that may look familiar to movie buffs.
From beautiful cars to how about this beautiful boats on the estuary outside of Jack London Square in Oakland. We have a wonderful Friday evening in progress, but wait, we have rain moving in. I'll show you where after this fast Fox break.
People trying to squeeze in one more summer getaway are finding surprising travel deals. This is a live look at Seattle Tacoma International Airport, just one of the airports across The U.S., where people can expect to find airfares down as much as 6% compared to August of last year. People who prefer to take road trips are also finding gas prices down compared to this time last year. Fox's Kennedy Hayes has a breakdown of what's driving this trend from Denver International Airport, where travelers are talking about their budget-friendly trips.
With busy travel season ending, airlines are lowering prices to try to bring up demand. Some travelers tell me they're taking advantage of these deals and already have their last-minute summer trips planned.
I just booked a trip to Tampa in 2 weeks at the end of the month, so super excited for that. Got a good price on it, actually, for booking a few days ago.
I think we got round trip for a price point that felt like it fit in our budget, and we're just going to head out to the beach in North Carolina and enjoy the last few days of summer before school starts.
Right now, domestic airfare is averaging about $240 per round-trip ticket, down about 3% compared to last year and well below pre-pandemic levels. According to Hopper, prices are historically lower booking from most major U.S. airports. Destinations offering the best prices include Orlando, New York City, and Seattle. And it's not just airfare. AAA says gas prices are about 40 cents less than they were last year. Rental car prices are down about $44 per day on average. Hotel prices are up slightly, but many end of the summer travel promotions are set to continue through Labor Day. Economists say booking ahead for September and October can save travelers around 30% on plane tickets.
This year, on top of that regular seasonal dip in demand, we're also seeing many airlines have oversupplied. There are more flights available and seats available to book than are needed in the market, and that has put more pressure on prices, bringing them down to where they are today.
A spokesperson from AAA tells me gas prices are likely to stay low at least through Labor Day weekend. At Denver International Airport, Kennedy Hayes, Fox News.
Vice President Kamala Harris is laying out some of what she wants to do to help families' budgets if she becomes president. Today in Raleigh, North Carolina, she rolled out economic proposals designed to cut taxes and lower the price of groceries and housing. She's calling for a federal ban on price gouging by food producers and grocers. She thinks that will make companies more competitive. Violators would face penalties.
As president, I will be laser focused on creating opportunities for the middle class that advance their economic security, stability, and dignity. Together, we will build what I call an opportunity economy.
Critics say her plan won't work.
There are a lot of things that you could do that make economic sense that help these folks, and it's not just having the government set things. Whenever the government set things, there's going to be shortages, and it's going to be hard to get stuff, and the shelves are going to be empty.
Another thing the vice president wants to do is to make it possible for some first-time home buyers to get $25,000 of down payment assistance. She also wants to eliminate taxes on tips for service and hospitality workers. Final preparations are underway for Monday's start of the Democratic National Convention in Chicago. The speakers list is set. President Joe Biden will speak Monday. Former presidents Barack Obama and Bill Clinton are the headline speakers Tuesday and Wednesday. Vice presidential nominee Tim Walz will also speak Wednesday. On Thursday, Vice President Kamala Harris will take the stage to officially accept the party's nomination for president. The four-day event is expected to bring about 50,000 people to Chicago. Large demonstrations are expected.
We will be there. We will chant Free Palestine. We will say stop U.S. aid to Israel.
If you want to express your First Amendment, please do so. But do it within the boundaries of the law. And as long as that occurs, then people will have their voices heard.
Vice President Harris and Tim Walz are reportedly planning a rally in Milwaukee on the second day of the DNC. And the Trump campaign says it's planning events next week to counter the convention. Former President Trump plans to rally voters in Pennsylvania tomorrow. He's expected to speak to supporters at Mohegan Sun Arena in Wilkes-Barre. Today, the GOP campaign is working to put a focus on fighting crime. Vice presidential candidate J.D. Vance participated in a roundtable discussion with police union officials in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. He said more action must be taken to enforce the law.
How can you have an American dream? How can you have poor children who look to the future with optimism and hope if they can't walk down the streets of their neighborhood safely? And these police officers fight to make that a reality every single day. And Kamala Harris is making their job harder, and Donald Trump is going to make their lives easier.
Vance also defended comments Trump made last night. The former president characterized the Presidential Medal of Freedom as better than the military's top honor, the Congressional Medal of Honor.
The Presidential Medal of Freedom, that's the highest award you can get as a civilian. It's the equivalent of the Congressional Medal of Honor, but civilian version. It's actually much better because everyone gets the Congressional Medal of Honor, that's soldiers. They're either in very bad shape because they've been hit so many times by bullets, or they're dead.
I've seen him give out a number of awards and commendations to military veterans, and of course, I myself am a Marine Corps veteran of the Iraq War. This is a guy who loves our veterans and who honors our veterans. I don't think him complimenting and saying a nice word about a person who received the Presidential Medal of Freedom is in any way denigrating those who received military honors. They're two different awards.
Former President Trump's comments about the medals came after he was introduced to a crowd by GOP mega donor Miriam Adelson. He awarded her the Presidential Medal of Freedom in 2019.
Boy, what a beautiful day up and down the entire West Coast, from the Pacific Northwest, the Canadian border, all the way to the Mexican border. We were almost cloud-free. Take a look at this, but things are changing in a hurry. Look at this area of low pressure. It's an upward level area of low pressure, and it is poised in position right off the Pacific Northwest coastline. By tomorrow morning, it will be producing some precipitation in throughout the Seattle area all the way into Portland. In fact, it's even going to nick that northwestern quadrant of the state of California. But today, we had the clouds starting to encroach in the Seattle area, but it was gorgeous, 74 degrees there. Otherwise, visibility was unlimited in San Francisco and throughout the entire Bay at 70. Average high there is 67 degrees. Typically about 107 in Phoenix, but instead a hot day, 113 there with a few cumulus clouds. And we take it to Santa Monica, about 10 miles just outside of Los Angeles Airport. LAX with a high there of 82, but downtown LA, a sizzling 91 degrees. Now, meanwhile, other notable numbers around the West Coast today was 97 degrees in Redding. How about 111 in Palm Springs? 109 today in Las Vegas, when typically we should be right around 104. It was 106 in Tucson, backing all the way into Benson, and slightly cooler around Tombstone. So here we go. Here's the area of low pressure, not very seasonal for this time of the year. It's going to press up against the Pacific Northwest and also interfere with your weekend plans in the extreme northern portion of the state of California. Void of any kind of precipitation will be San Francisco all the way south into the Los Angeles area. But let's take a look at the satellite imagery. There you have the precipitation around that northern half of Northern California, almost into the Mendocino area, right around Ukiah, with about 1/10 of an inch of precip, enhancing that marine layer from San Francisco through Monterey Bay, Carmel by the sea, but void of any kind of clouds around the Los Angeles and San Diego area. But what it is doing, it's causing a lot of winds to whip up in advancement of the system, so therefore we have a red flag warning in effect for Saturday around the spine of the Sierra Nevada. This does encompass the Reno area and also the Greater Lake Tahoe area, putting a bit of a chop on the water there, so a lake advisor in effect as well. So here you have the numbers. The rain will push out of the Seattle area early. We do have lots of sunshine around San Francisco by Sunday with average high temperatures, and looking good for Los Angeles, and still mighty hot in Phoenix. Amber?
Roberta, thank you. Best of Show will be awarded on the West Coast this weekend, and we're not talking about dogs. Coming up, see how car collectors are coming out to show off multi-million-dollar road machines. And better days ahead for puppies found wandering in the Mojave Desert. Find out how long it took for rescue workers to round up all 5 and get them to safety.
3, 2, 1, ignition. And liftoff of Falcon 9. Go Transporter 11.
SpaceX launched a Falcon 9 rocket with 116 payloads aboard from Vandenberg Space Force Base in Southern California today. Transporter 11 is SpaceX's 11th dedicated small satellite rideshare mission. SpaceX says this was the company's 80th launch of the year, with more than 70% of the satellites headed to the Starlink mega constellation of satellites. Monterey Car Week is in full swing on the Central Coast. Some of the world's finest collector cars are on display either through car shows or auctions. Fox's Max Gordon is in Monterey with more about what's happening this weekend.
Welcome to Pebble Beach, California, where some of the most valuable vehicles in the entire world have descended upon this community just south of the San Francisco Bay Area. There's all sorts of car-related events going on. There's the Concours d'Elegance, where 200 vehicles are competing for best in show. There are industry events, car unveilings, and then there are the auctions. About half a dozen or so auction houses have popped up. I'm standing in Gooding & Company, surrounded by a whole lot of gorgeous vehicles worth millions of dollars. I'm afraid to breathe on these things. Now, they've got 184 cars here that are going to be going up onto the auction block. Last year, they did $95 million in sales, and they say they're likely going to exceed that number this year. One of the cars that's likely going to get them over that number, this one right here, the Ferrari 250 California. Now, you might recognize this car from Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Now, it was a fake in the movie. Of course, this is the real deal, and it is worth between $15 and $17 million. Now, I talked to David Gooding. He's the head of Gooding & Company, founded this company, and he says that what makes a car so valuable, of course, its prestige, its heritage, its name brand, but it's also about the story.
Do they fetch a higher price if they've got an important story? Most definitely. You know, an object is interesting, but when you tell the human story behind it, it becomes that much more interesting. And people are intrigued by that. It's, you know, it's what makes something separated from something more common.
The Pebble Beach Concours d'Elegance culminates on Sunday when the best in show is named. But if you ask me, if you drive away with any one of these beauties, you're a winner in my book. In Pebble Beach, California, Max Gordon, Fox Business.
Finally tonight, an animal rescue group called Paws Patrol Las Vegas says they rescued 4 puppies wandering in the Mojave Desert. A Good Samaritan spotted the dogs roaming in a remote area outside of Baker without food or water. The Nevada SPCA says the pups had been living there for weeks in the extreme heat. After 5 days of searching, Paws Patrol finally caught up with all the pups. They were reportedly eating rocks to survive. The SPCA says the rescues are now recovering safely and will eventually go up for adoption. Thanks for joining us tonight. You can stay up to date on all of the stories we're covering online. Just go to westcoastwrap.com and stream all of our shows on your smart TV by downloading the Fox Local app. Good night.